You're watching Inside Utah Politics.
Time now for a closer look at some of the big issues in Utah politics with our panel. This week we have Democratic National Committeeman Charles Stormont and State Senator Lincoln Fillmore. Gentlemen, great to have you with us. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn.
You bet. Okay, so on the show we have Mitt Romney and Mike Kennedy, the GOP candidates for Senate. The latest Utah policy poll puts Romney up 43 points. Is that how you see this race playing out? Let's start with you, Senator Fillmore.
Yeah, there's no doubt. We have two good men in this race, and both would represent Utah well in the Senate. Neither one is perfect, but one is up 40 points in the polls, and he's going to win. And I think largely that's because most Utahns wish we were talking about President Romney halfway through his second term. And with his success in the Olympics, I just think that has bought him enough goodwill that that's why we've got that margin.
Is there anything Kennedy can do to gain ground in that race?
No.
Okay. All right. Charles, let's bring you in. One thing I want to ask you about is recent polls have even indicated that if Romney were to win, that Democrats might even vote for him in November. Would that happen?
It's certainly possible. There's always crossover in every election. I'm very excited to see a candidate emerge so that they can sit down and face a real opponent in Jenny Wilson. She's already working hard across the state. She's listening to the people. She understands what people need. She's from Utah. She's an elected official in Utah. I think it's going to be an interesting general election campaign, and I think Senator Romney or Governor Romney or whoever Romney needs to be prepared for a legitimate discussion about the important issues for Utah.
Okay, I was going to move on, but I'm going to let you address that. If Romney does go on to November, how does it play out between him and Jenny Wilson?
I have every respect for Jenny Wilson, but whoever wins the Republican primary will be the next senator from Utah.
All right, let's move on to another very interesting race here in the state of Utah, shaping up in Utah's 4th Congressional District between Representative Mia Love, the incumbent, and Salt Lake County Mayor Ben McAdams. A new poll that came out on Wednesday from Utah Policy basically put it in a statistical dead heat, giving Love a 4 percentage point lead. Does she need to be worried about that at this point?
You know, she's going to win. Every poll has shown her with that same consistent lead. And to be honest, I think this is really the high water mark for the McAdams campaign. With the news about Facebook last week going to Eagle Mountain, it should have landed in West Jordan, but McAdams played politics with it and kind of sacrificed the interests of the west side. He's counting on Salt Lake County votes to put him over the top, and I think that as the people on the west side of Salt Lake County, which is the district in the 4th district, get wind of that and start realizing how he sacrificed them for the sake of his east side constituents, I think that his standing is only going to go down in the polls and that Mia Love's going to win in November.
All right, let's bring you in. First address that issue with Facebook and West Side residents.
Couldn't disagree more. I think the voters will recognize the corporate welfare that's going on, the 1% handout that's being given to Mark Zuckerberg, and they will punish Mia Love for it. The polls that we have seen have shown she's topped out. She has nowhere to go but down. Ben has consistently been rising in the polls as the voters get to know him, particularly as you get into the Utah County portion of the 4th Congressional District. They will get to know him better and better. They will come to like him more and more. I think the numbers are going to continue to shift in his favor as they have been over time.
Isn't that her strong point, though, Utah County?
Yeah, and I think it will continue to be, and I think that Salt Lake County is not going to be the strong suit that McAdams needs it to be.
Okay. What, if you were his strategic manager or consultant, what would be the plan moving forward?
Ben is an incredibly compelling individual. He works hard. He's an excellent administrator as the county mayor. I've had the pleasure of coaching one of his kids on a baseball team. He's a great man through and through. His family is an impressive bunch. My strategy would make sure everybody has a chance to meet Ben, because the minute you meet him, you're going to want to vote for him.
Representative Love obviously has the power of incumbency on her side. What has she done in office that voters should look at and say, yeah, she deserves another term?
You know, for one thing, she voted for the tax cuts that has had a positive effect for every family in America and in Utah. And Ben McAdams has a record of tax increases as the mayor of Salt Lake County and as a senator from the east side of Salt Lake City. And I think that when people compare their records, that Mia Love will be the clear choice for the 4th district.
Okay, I want to give you one last chance to weigh in on that before we move on to the next topic.
I guess I would respectfully disagree that he's not a tax and spend Democrat. He's a get things done kind of guy. He's reasonable, he's smart, and he listens to the constituents. And Mia Love doesn't do a lot of those things, and I think the voters will be really impressed by Ben as they get to know him over the course of the campaign.
I am going to let you answer that. Does Mia Love listen to constituents?
Yeah, I'm a constituent of hers, and yes, in fact, she's having several town hall meetings and cottage meetings going on right now. She's really been a model congresswoman and has represented the 4th District great in Washington.
Let's move on to the inland port. We had a little coming together between, you could say, an odd couple, a pair that you wouldn't assume would come together. But by the way, I'm going to mention it started right on this very couch that you guys are sitting on, so we'll see what you come up with after the show. But anyway, we're talking about the inland port. Senator Jim DeBacchus and Speaker Greg Hughes coming together to form what they say is a good compromise moving forward. Let's start with you. Do you like, I mean, you voted on this bill, do you like the compromise framework that they came up with?
I'd say I agree with Representative Speaker Hughes that the compromise doesn't improve the bill from my standpoint. But if it helps Salt Lake City feel more comfortable with the way things are going, I think it's good. I think the fact that Senator DeBacchus and Speaker Hughes coming together to find a win-win solution, whenever people of differing views get together to try to find common ground and to put together a solution that can benefit everyone, that usually leads to the better policy outcomes. And so I'm excited to see what can come forward. But the inland port is going to be important for our state's economic future.
A lot of elected officials, including the mayor, Mayor Biskupski, those that represent the west side where this will be, Senator Escamilla, Representatives Hollins, and Rebecca Chavez-Houck, and also Angela Romero, came together and say, look, we were no part of this, we should have a voice here. Talk about it from their perspective.
No, I think the House Dems made a very valid point that this appears to have been a backroom deal, and that's of concern to, it should be of concern to any Utahn. A great deal of the inland port bill that was passed in the legislature was not done in a public fashion. There wasn't an opportunity for feedback from the people most directly affected by it. And it's important that we get a little sunshine on our government, especially on something that's going to impact our capital city in an incredibly significant way. I'm not sure that the inland port is going to be all good. We've got a serious air quality issue that it's, I think, demonstrably going to worsen, which has a profound economic impact in a negative way on Utah. If we can take that bad bill, make it a little bit better, that's a step in the right direction, but we need to push back pretty hard and make sure those environmental issues are being addressed.
Senator, you and your colleagues voted for it. It passed both chambers, the governor signed it, so it can move forward as is. Do you see it changing in any way moving forward?
I think that if we can come to a win-win agreement where that everybody feels like this is moving in a more positive direction, that we'll probably be willing to make those changes to bring Salt Lake City on board and to help them feel better about what's going on and address some of the issues that they've raised.
Do you see it getting to a point where maybe it is more agreeable to everyone on both sides?
I certainly hope so. I think I take Senator DeBacchus at face value. I love Jim. He's a great guy. He's a very hardworking senator, and if he's telling us that he thinks he's found a way to make it a little bit less bad, I think we ought to give him a chance and see what we can make of it. I do think there are serious problems with it, so if we can start moving the ball in the right direction, that's a positive.
One thing that's so interesting about this argument is that no one says we shouldn't do it. Everyone that I've talked to says, you know, this could have a real positive impact. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Great discussion, gentlemen. Thanks for being here. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with more Inside Utah Politics right after the break.